What do you want me to do? Take the headset off? It takes forever. I was starving. I haven't had anything since 6 a.m. And then boom, I thought I'd sneak in a banana. Bad move.
We just had that live again. Listener didn't get
that?
The display that we just had, Matt. It was Olympic level throat clearing.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's top of the pops.
Do you guys not have that? Do you guys not have that?
We try not to cleanse the palate with the pastiest of fruits. That's
Hey, 2 coffees in the morning for me. It soothes the throat. You know us in broadcasting. Coffee's huge. Coffee just absolutely soothes the throat, gets you on your way. But for some reason, as soon as I eat
coffee
the banana,
and bananas, really.
Not tea, Rick.
Are you broadcasting from the throne?
Hours apart.
Oh, my God.
No tea. And Matt, it's coffee. And, you know, I'll go back 30 years when I started. Coffee. And I did the early morning shift when you had to get up at 3:34. Your best friend in morning radio, Matt and Blake, is coffee. And there's no other alternative.
There's caffeine going through that bloodstream. No kidding, huh?
No sugar, though. Unlike Drance, I don't put sugar in then yell like a maniac. No sugar.
Meant to be a bitter drink. Good on you, Rick.
Yes.
Rick Dhaliwal is one half of the team, Donnie and Dhali, on Czech television weekdays from 10 to 12. They went an additional hour, though, on Monday
Yes, they
after
did.
trade deadline. Good for you.
Do you wish you didn't? Was the trade deadline of the sorts that you wish you didn't have that third hour, or do you think that was as advertised this year?
And Blake, it's funny you asked that because I asked that to Jim Rutherford this morning. The big thing about that extra hour, it went by like it was 20 minutes. It was just, you know what, there's so much to talk about. And leading up to the deadline, guys, Vancouver was central for rumors in the NHL. Let's be honest. You guys have national guys that come on all the time on your show. We do. Other outlets have national guys, and everybody, you know, was throwing a Vancouver name out there. And look, and then the Monday comes. And then at 9 o'clock on Monday, I was told, look, it's very quiet in the Canucks camp. They are still taking calls on Motte. Motte ended up being the guy. I just don't think, Blake and Matt, I don't think the Canucks were willing to go to the number that Motte's agent asked for. And simple as that. And they didn't want to move that guy. We're raving about Luke Schenn today, but Tyler Motte, every coach that ever played, he played for in Vancouver, loved him. Same thing with every GM. He's a very likable, coachable player. It's not something they wanted to do, but it was the business side of hockey.
Allvin didn't answer when asked Monday, were you close to doing something else, something bigger? How close, or do you know if they were close on any other player, someone higher up the lineup?
Didn't get that sense. When at 9 o'clock in the morning, I tweeted, it's very quiet. I didn't get that sense. And the biggest thing to me, guys, was the night before in the Buffalo game. Let's be honest. If you're close to dealing a Besser or you're close to dealing a big name, no one's playing on that. Garland, no one's playing Sunday night against Buffalo. If you're close on Sunday night with any team in the National Hockey League and the deadline's Monday, that player's not playing. By dressing the complete team on Sunday night against Buffalo told me there were not going to be fireworks on Monday.
All right. We'll take your word for it. I see you talked with Jim Rutherford. Really good for you to bring balance to the agent force there by talking to a team executive. What did you learn?
I learned a lot. I learned that he was very impressed with the last 2 games, guys. He said they played the right way. Attention to detail was good. Didn't cheat to score. Really happy. He sounded look, guys, going into Colorado, everybody thought they're going to lose 6-1, 7-1. Halak plays great. He singled out Pettersson for his impressive defensive play against Colorado. He just loves that 200-foot game, especially for the top 6 guys. Miller, he was impressed with. Always knew he was good, he said, but he puts the team on his back offensively. What is Miller now, guys? 8th in the NHL in scoring. So he just sounded very pleased. Loved the fact that Minnesota is a heavy set team. He liked the pushback from the Canucks, singled out Luke Schenn. I asked him about Luke Schenn, actually. I shouldn't say he singled him out, but I asked about Luke, and he said he's a true character guy and leadership. And I'll tell you something right now, Matt. A lot of teams called Luke Schenn, but I believe the Canucks made the decision on the weekend before Monday not to move this guy for exactly what Rutherford explained, the true character and leadership. So I really feel that they just love Luke Schenn and every single thing that he brings to the table. But it sounded like a general manager really happy with his team's play in the last 2 nights.
86% of your voters at Donnie and Dhali on Twitter on is Luke Schenn the unsung hero saying yes.
Really?
Yes, it's an acclamation basically.
Wow.
Of Luke Schenn.
Yeah, okay, but let me ask you two, who are the others?
Lamico,
if Kyle Burrows was healthy,
Lamico has a shout there.
Exceeded his role for sure.
But as we always say in Vancouver, it is such a well-covered hockey market. Virtually everybody is sung if they do constructive things for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah. Tanner Pearson's a name that we had in our inbox. What's his name? Highmore. I thought that if Kyle Burrows didn't get hurt, he's punched his weight a couple of times above in fights this year, and he's a character guy that brings it every single night. So I know Luke Schenn's getting a ton of love today, justifiably so, but there would be other candidates.
What do you think? You extolled the virtues of JT Miller, despite the fact that he was probably cheating a little bit on the overtime winner last night, and could have made a difference there. He's had a couple of those moments this season because he's been thinking offense the whole way, and that's fine. You can have those players, but the offseason plan for Jim Rutherford, just got that much more interesting because of the lack of the big moves at the trade deadline. Yeah, I'm sure he's not tipping his hand directly to you, but what do you think the burden is on him? Because I don't know that he can preach change and, be evaluated any differently than Jim Benning if he shows up to training camp in September with all of Garland, Miller, Horvat, Pettersson, and Besser. If he shows up with all of them, I don't know that he can look himself in the mirror and say, I'm serving the people here by doing things differently than Jim Benning.
That group wasn't good enough this year. It wasn't good enough the year before. I mean,
there's some big contract decisions up ahead, guys. JT Miller is going to be front and center for me. And then you got Brock Besser. He's got the qualifier at 7.5. And then you got Horvat. The same day you can start talking to Miller is the same day you can start talking to Bo Horvat about a new deal. There's some big decisions that lie ahead. There's still some dead money. Yeah, okay. So they did shave some off the salary cap at the deadline. I think they wanted to do more. I think they tried harder. They tried hard to move Halak, but I don't think they found the takers that they wanted. I think if they could have moved Halak at the deadline and shaved another 1.2 to 1.5, that would have really helped. They are happy with the money they shaved off the cap. That was always the big thing with this team going forward, guys. Cap relief and get younger. And I think they did that at the deadline, and I think they will try and continue to do that in the summer.
Okay, let's move on to some other topics here. There was a college free agent goaltender with local ties here who the Washington Capitals signed this week. It is college free agent season. We're going to talk about Aidan McDonough, the Canucks' own collegian drafted player, in a moment. But first, on the free agent side, Ricky, they have talked so much about these players. How close are they to landing one, and how many do you think they've missed out on at this stage?
Well, I think they haven't been in on a ton, but I do, I did ask Jim about the NCAA guys. I said, hey, there's a perception you haven't signed anyone. He said they were close on two. I think the top three. I think the Scanlon defenseman, a left shot, I think they were close on him. Clay Stevenson, the local kid, he had visits with the Rangers and Capitals. Vancouver and Seattle did have interest. He did talk to, I believe, Ian Clark, about Vancouver and the situation, but I don't think the Canucks, when it came down to the nitty-gritty, I don't think they were in on Clay Stevenson as much as they were in on Scanlon and another player. But I do get the sense from Jim that they are still, he did make a very good point. He said, we started our recruiting late because Allvin got here late. Rutherford came here a little bit late, and a lot of those recruiting things are done over the years, and maybe Jim Benning maybe had targeted other NCAA guys at the beginning of the year, and then the Canucks get new regime. So anyways, I think they're going to still try. I think that you're going to see on the they're going to still try, I believe. Let's go to Aidan McDonough. His season ended today. That's going to be a decision. This is a player I believe the Vancouver Canucks want to sign. No question. But I also believe this is a player, talking to my NCAA sources, that thinks there is value in going back for a fourth year, being the captain, being the go-to guy. Where's your development better, NCAA or Abbotsford? All those things are into play. There's no hatred for the city of Vancouver or the Canucks. That is not at play. But sometimes you got to make the decision what's best for your development. That's what Aidan McDonough is going to do. Whether it's Vancouver and Abbotsford or it's NCAA, he's got to decide.
The downside with that plan for him is that by the time, if he continues to play the full 4 years, that puts the Canucks in a really tough position to sign him. And B, selfishly for himself, he won't be a pro till he's 24 years of age.
Yep.
And that takes away probably one full contract away from his professional life, assuming that his contract his career is as good as he wants it to be. So you've got to think positively if you're the agent and the player, and map out what your ELC and what your graduation out of each of your contracts. He almost cheats himself out of a prime year contract by waiting that extra year. He'll be 24 because he's going to be 23 this November.
Yep, I agree. But the things that I think are at play are what's best for his development. And I think the Canucks think he's ready to turn pro. I think the player and his advisor, not agent, advisor, they're not allowed to have agents, but his advisor, they just got to decide, what's best. Is it for Aidan McDonough's development? And guys, I really like this player. He's gotten better. I've been able to talk to his coach the last couple of years. Foot speed, he's worked on that. He's got a very good lethal shot. And he's got good size. Skating with, tall, lanky kids, you guys know this. They always take longer to fix their skating because they're in a bigger boot and they got longer legs. So Aidan McDonough, look, guys, it's not up to you or myself or the Canucks. It's up to him. I think the Canucks think he's ready. It's up to the kid now. Do I turn pro or go back on one more year?
24 goals in 37 games. Over a point per game for the first time. He was right on it last year. 38 points in 37 games.
I was going to say the goal total soared, but really the points per game were roughly where he was in his first couple of years. So we talk about development. He's been on that level for a couple of years now. I mean, I think the AHL is the next step. You're absolutely right, Blake. You start at 24 years old. That is taking some money out of pocket. It's also probably, you're even closer to a judgment at the NHL level, right? Like, because they're not going to look at a 27-year-old and say, oh, we got development time left. And the other thing that you put the Canucks in a tough position, I think, with regards to the asset value there, that you got to start thinking about that if he goes back for his senior year.
Yeah, it's his call, guys. A lot of guys come out of college, and they go to the NHL early and then they kind of regret it. And some guys stay a little late and who knows, but they'll try and sort that out this weekend. But I'm getting the feel that there is serious consideration on their side to possibly thinking. I'm not saying the decision's been made because the decision hasn't been made, but I think there is value in going back for a fourth year.
But if you're the Canucks here, Rick, and you get that definitive answer in July or whatever it is, do you immediately trade the prospect? Do you flirt with a spring signing a year from now, or do you immediately look to trade the prospect?
Everything I've been told, they love this player and they think he should come out. I have not heard of any animosity from either side. But you know what? And don't forget, the U.S. Olympic team thought enough of this kid to I know the NHL guys weren't there, but when I got tipped off that the U.S. Olympic team was thinking he was scoring at such a good clip, that the U.S. Olympic team was thinking of taking him to the Olympics, he was on their radar. So look, why would you trade him? I mean, there is no animosity.
Then it becomes a business decision, Rick, is that at the end of a year from now, all he has to do is wait a few months and he can have the world in his palm, right? Yeah. So
that's true. But also in a year from now, when his season's over, if he goes back, he can still sign with the Vancouver
Canucks. At the end of the year, you mean,
Okay, let's move on to a couple of other young players. Will Lockwood has been called up here, and that is not just as injury assurance. You tell us about that, and then you suspect Rathbone here at some point soon.
100%. First of all, Lockwood, there is no injury. They just want to take a look at him. Is this the guy that could replace Tyler Motte? Well, there's only one way to find out. Play him, and see if I'm surprised it's a little. He got called up this quickly because I would presume the Canucks still think they're in the playoff race. But anyways, regardless, Jim said this is a guy they want to take a look at. Could he be Tyler Motte's replacement down the stretch? Younger, cheaper. So that's going to be interesting there. Rathbone was close to being called up last night. He's definitely going to get games this year, Jack. Every time the Canucks have thought of calling him up, he got injured. He's been kind of injured quite a bit this year, guys. So Lockwood, Rathbone. The other guy I asked about, Spencer Martin, possibly getting called up. That maybe getting in a game or two before the end of the season. That's could be a possibility. When I look at this goaltending situation, guys, Canucks got dead money in Holtby. They got dead money in Halak next year. So I don't know if they got a ton of money to go out and get a backup for $2-3 million. I my gut says that Spencer Martin will get a good long look to be the backup next year. Can he be the guy? There's one way to find out.
In April, what do you think their approach will be when they see Lockwood and Rathbone? Do they not want to rob Abby of them for too long because they're in a seeding battle for the playoffs? Or do you think they want to give them 2 weeks straight sort of thing?
That's a great question, and I never thought of it from that angle. But at the same time, when the Canucks season's over, they'll be able to go back to Abbotsford. And if Abby's been on a really good run here in the last 2 months, they've really been racking up the wins at a pretty good, impressive clip. When Abbotsford was put together last summer, I was told that Abbotsford's payroll is probably going to be second or third in the American League. Toronto Marlies, I think, lead everybody. And you know what? Now all of a sudden they're scoring at a good clip, and they got guys out. DiGiuseppe's out. They got other Bailey's not there yet. They got guys out, and they got Patan up here, and they keep winning, and they keep doing well. And one of the reasons they're doing so well down there, guys, Spencer Martin, he had another big game last night. So, that's a good point, though, too. But at the end of the day, they're all going to be returned to Abbotsford for the playoff run anyway.
That's it. And, you haven't developed a skater in the better part of a decade. Maybe let's lean towards feeding the NHL club and not worry about a few tickets and wins on the farm. I'm sorry. I understand the teams here. I understand, you're trying to serve two masters to a little bit, but please, let's have a hard lean towards the NHL club and young skaters getting opportunity there. To me, that's most important, and given the history that this group inherited, this administration inherited, of not enough players being developed.
And Blake, don't forget, Podkolzin got papered down. So, he should be, when he goes down, in Colorado, the poor kid had 7 minutes, and then I know he went up to 10 last night in Minnesota. But, he needs to be, when Podkolzin goes to Abbotsford for the playoffs, he needs to be a difference maker. And I think that, I think
hey,
that
Rick,
is the plan.
When they're mathematically done, I'm not against sending Podkolzin down early to go down there and dominate for the last 2 weeks of April.
18 minutes a night, as opposed
not because he's being demoted, quote unquote, but just to let him excel. I'm okay with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but hold it a second. When the Canucks if they get eliminated, shouldn't his ice time in Vancouver go up?
Or if you're committed to doing that, if you're saying, okay, we're mathematically out, we're going to put him on PP2, we're going to do that, then sure, by all means.
And guys, here's where the coach and having a team option on him next year may get a little bit messy, right? Because Boudreau is coaching to get this extension on top of to win hockey games here, right? If they get mathematically eliminated, Boudreau still has his own contract to resolve for next year.
Well, he'll want to please his masters, though, no?
No, I think so, but this is what happens when you let coaches get down to the renegotiation period on their deals, or extension period.
But hold it a second. I'm going to take you guys back a year when the Canucks were out and Gadjevich and Lind were up here. Travis wasn't playing them. I mean, he literally, they just were not getting a ton of ice time.
That's what I mean, Rick. Every win mattered to Travis then. And every win may matter to Boudreau down the stretch here, even if it's cosmetic in the standings, because he's got his own contract to worry about. So
I'm not going to lie to you. I was literally shocked that Gadjevich got so much little ice time, even though the Canucks were out of the playoffs.
Okay, buddy, we're fresh out of time. We thank you for yours. Look forward to next Friday already. Great job on the trade deadline, Rick, and have a great weekend.
You too, guys. Take care.
I'm glad to see Lockwood up. I hope to see Rathbone up. I'm like you. We are getting close to a play the kids.
But let's flesh out what you're just saying at the end. What's the worry? Because if the Canucks are mathematically eliminated on April 15th,
yep.
Understand the coach is in like.
So the coach
is thinking what? I'm going to do what?
So as you know, and Boudreau even talked about this when asked about it. Boudreau basically said, "I just want a coach. I'll sign anything."
Yeah.
So next year is a team option on him.
Yeah.
So needless to say, he's done such a great job. I think he's earned an extension.
Okay, but what are you worried about him doing in the final 2 weeks of the season? Because
I'm worried about him. I'm worried about him playing vets over kids for the sake of every single win until his own contract is resolved.
I see. But here's the thing. I mean, I hear that. I guess you could argue that because
that's exactly what Travis did, right? Like they called up Lyndon Gadjevich and he did nothing with them because he was going into the final year of a deal, as you'll recall. Or the final few days of a deal.
Very different, right? A guy, his first NHL gig versus last NHL gig.
There are differences.
You know, if you're Boudreau, who's savvy, who's got a resume as long as the day is, he might just say, you know what, guys, you want me to? What are you thinking? What should we do? If he was amenable and went to,
and I think he would be,
and said, do you want me to play? I was thinking about playing Podkolzin on the power play. See what he. I mean, I think that's what we see.
What I'm saying is, you say Travis first NHL gig, Bruce Boudreau, last NHL gig,
right?
Likely, right?
Right, yeah. So again,
and
again, with a guy with his resume and tenure, I think he can call up a Jim Rutherford and say, what do you think in these last 2 weeks? You want to see the kids play, blah, 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 blah.
But I also think that gets a whole lot easier if you extend the coach. Then all of a sudden,
it's the easiest thing to do right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know you're bringing him back.
Yeah.
You know roughly what the salary is going to be because you know where coaches.
The only thing sticky is
so it becomes a question of, you know, are Aquilini's willing to buck up now, or are we going to drive this through the summer and into?
Well, and again, it's not like they have to negotiate the number, which would be sticky-er because I think you could argue he's giving them a deal, and
you got to negotiate the number, but you're going to be in a range somewhere, I think.
Well, no, if it was an option year, the number is probably on paper. No. You don't think the number's on paper?
Oh, yeah. No, yeah. It very well could be.
What I'm saying is, so
you think they're just going to exercise the team option on him and let him coach into his final year of his contract next year? I'd be surprised.
You would add another year?
I think we're talking an extension here that recognizes and resolves the fact that Bruce sold himself cheap.
Totally.
That Bruce did a hell of a job and deserves a raise. And also, and I sure hope ownership has learned from the Green situation, a deal long enough that guys like you and me aren't asking about the coach's contract in future.